Hi, guys. Welcome back. Imagine reuniting with a high school crush and imagine he breaks your heart. Today's YouTuber is Brenhart, and she's going to talk about how he ditched me. I hope you enjoy.
Um, so dating is hard. It's for me, it's not fun. Um, I get really nervous, and I think mainly because I body shame myself to the point that I don't. I psych myself out before I can actually go on a date. I don't catfish anyone. So, when I make a dating profile, they see my full body. So it's not like a shocker when they meet me that I'm plus size. But one dating experience that's been the most recent in the past few months that has really been bothering me for a long time was actually a guy that I knew majority of my life. We had class in fifth grade. He had a fifth grade crush on me. We went to different middle schools and we kind of lost touch. In high school, we kind of reconnected because his sister was on the same cheerleading squad as me. And of course, at that time, I was not plus size. I was, I guess you would say, average weight, average size. I was athletic. I did cheerleading, of course. I was in a certain clique, so it made things kind of more easy to be dating different guys. So, yeah, high school, that was the moment in which I blossomed in my life. I was always the awkward, chubby kid, lost the weight, of course, through being active. And this guy in particular, I think, remembered what I looked like when I was in high school. So when he saw me after high school, when we both agreed to meet up and hang out, because I think we had maybe like a year of like touch and base, like text messages and conversations and exchanges and things like that. And I finally agreed to.
Okay, so real quick, they probably met up on either Facebook or what was the one before that, MySpace, right? So has this scenario ever happened to you, guys and girls watching at home? Did you ever reconnect with an old person from high school or college or from your 20s, but now maybe you're in your mid 30s or even your 40s or older, and all of a sudden you're like, I wonder if this person still looks the same. Tell me what your thoughts are down below.
Join him on a date. He invited me to go to a movie, a drive-in movie. And so I was like, sure, I had nothing better to do. And I felt confident that day, so I agreed to go on this date with him. How it turned out was completely not what I expected. So during the date, it was awkward. I met him at his place. He then helped me load up his car, and we went to the drive-in. We get to the drive-in, he's kind of quiet, and I'm kind of the one that's like initiating conversation, which is also something different from me because usually I'm the shy one, but this time I was the one initiating conversation. And the conversation was going okay, and then it kind of like plateaued. And I started, of course, thinking in my head, like most girls do, what's going on? Is it me? Why is he not talking? And did I say something wrong? Do I look horrible? Is he turned off? Like, I don't know. So we went and saw the visit. He sat in the chair and I just sat with, on the back edge of the car and just kind of watching the movie. And he didn't really talk to me. He kind of went off to get like refreshments for himself and then came back. And then the movie ended. I think it was like Straight Out of Compton was next. And
Straight out of Compton. So are those bad signs? If somebody goes off and gets a drink for them and not you, is that a bad sign? If you're talking and all of a sudden there's a plateau, is that a bad sign? If you're married to somebody or you're with them for a long time, you'd like to think that you can enjoy the silence together. But if it's your first date and you're reuniting from high school, yeah, there probably shouldn't be too much silence, right? Let me know if you're a fan of silence, especially during the movie.
I was kind of excited about that one. I was like really wanting to see that movie. I think that's the reason why we picked that kind of pairing for the drive-in. Anyways, so he tells me he's going to disappear for a little bit. He's gonna go to the restroom or something, or he had a phone call. I forget because I try and black out this horrible dating experience. He's gone for like 20 minutes. I don't think he's into it. I don't even think he's into like even talking to me as a person. I think he's just over it. I'm supposed to be the girl that he remembers in high school, not this fat girl basically that he sees in front of him. And I should have known better because, you know, on Facebook he would post a lot of like fat things about fat girls, and like, you know, you turn on the light, it's a fat girl, but if you turn it off, she's hot. Like things like that I should have been like red flagged already, but I like to give people the benefit of the doubt.
That kind of changes things, doesn't it? If you see a glimpse into somebody's life through their Facebook account, and in this situation, she very much did. She saw that he has a tendency to say some, you know, insensitive or unsensitive comments, right? If you were in her situation, should she have maybe known what she was getting into? Or do you agree with her that maybe you just assume that's him being somebody that he's not, and in reality, he'll be a kind person? What are your thoughts?
But yeah, he returned 20 minutes later, said he had to leave and pick up his sister and his dad at a wedding that they were drunk at. He packed up everything quickly and drove me to, not even to my car that was parked by his house. He dropped me off a block away from my car, said he had a fun night. He's sorry that he had to leave. And mind you, like the whole drive there was complete silence. And drops me off at my car a block away. I walked to my car by myself at night and basically got in my car and just lost it. Like I didn't want anything. Like I didn't want to be in a relationship. I just felt so disgusted by me. Not it's weird, by me, but not by what he did. So yeah, it sucked. So the next day, I wrote him and I said, I hope your sister and your dad are okay. You know, I hope everything's all right. You know, sorry about how things ended last night, but I hope you're doing fine. When I went to send the message off or something like that, it wouldn't send through. And you know, on Facebook, usually things go through if you're friends. It wouldn't go through. So then I looked, and of course, he's no longer there. He blocked me on Facebook and got rid of me after our date.
Oh, you poor thing. That is an awful nightmare. If you've ever had that situation happen to you, definitely share with us. Let's read a couple of her comments. Lily Sanchez, and this is from 6 years ago, says, a guy did that to me too. It wasn't a traditional date. We went to a bar and he said his friend is going to come later on too. Mind you, we ordered about 2 drinks each, but no one paid so far. So he went to get his friend and never came back. Literally never came back. I had to pay for our drinks. And I didn't message him, but next day he blocked me from Instagram and Snap. Loser of the year. Yeah, Lily, that definitely does suck. Marina Rodriguez, 8136, 8 years ago, writes, first of all, thank you for sharing your experience with us. I know it took a lot of courage. I've had similar experiences and I can relate. But let me tell you, he sounds like a major douchebag from the beginning. He makes you drive to his place. Sounds like a sloth of a man who couldn't even lift a finger to pick up his date. His behavior is not due to your image. It's just a reflection of his immaturity. And let me tell you, no quote unquote perfect body would ever inspire that man to act like a true gentleman. He has deeper issues that perfect weight can resolve. You are perfect, and I can tell you have a sweet soul. Don't let a man or society bring you down. Please don't. Much love and happiness, girl. It's always nice when your fans can let you know how much they care, and the reality is you can do better than him, right? If you're not equally yoked, if he's not your right person, you wouldn't want to find out that he's this jerk later on. Better right off the bat, right? Why don't you guys go get your shoes? Let's all go for a walk. Well, very, very happy Tuesday. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday for me, so not the most exciting of mornings, but guys, the red venter LeBeau is dressed in, it looks like blue or black today. Interesting. Anyway, I want to wish you guys a happy Tuesday. I don't know if you guys heard, not that I want the walk to be about this, but it looks like President Joe Biden has decided to pass the torch to Kamala Harris for the upcoming presidential election. Good morning. And I find it interesting that a couple days ago he absolutely did not want to stop moving forward for the presidency. He was begging people to, take him on and win, without him having to step down. But apparently he did step down. So I think it was the right move. What do you guys think? Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent, I think we can all agree that was probably the best move for the country's sake, At the same time, I could see where the Republicans are coming from, where now they don't want him to step down, right? They're like, wait a minute. If you're not strong enough to go for re-election, you should resign right now. So some interesting things that are happening. My thinking is it doesn't really make sense to resign if there's only another couple of months left, So let him finish out his term, whether it's Kamala or whether it's Hillary Clinton or whether it's Michelle Obama or whoever they're going to place up on that side. It's probably going to be a better candidate than Joe would have been, So that's good. So President Biden, thank you for your service. I think you tried your best, but at the same time, I think somebody else was in charge, not necessarily you. So again, I think that's a good thing, just to make sure that moving forward, we don't have to worry about President Biden's mental state of mind and stuff. So that's good. I do have good news. Other than the presidency news, I do have good news. So, Samantha Griffin of Marion, Indiana, adopted a rescue husky named Luna. And the reason she did so is because she was suffering from some PTSD, and she thought that Luna would be a good emotional support dog. And she was. So check this out. Samantha was feeling sleepy and tired and went to lay down, and for some reason Luna, the rescue dog, started jumping on her bed and absolutely would not let her fall asleep. So thinking that Luna had to go outside to use the restroom or something to that effect, she ended up taking the dog outside. By the time she came in, her CO1 or her carbon monoxide alarm had sounded, and she was able to get the children and the rest of the people out of the house because of Luna, the support dog. So I thought that was a really cool story. It's interesting, from what I understand, carbon monoxide is one of those gases that, for at least to humans, it's odorless, right? You can't really detect it. Therefore, she had detectors in her home. The problem with detectors is that they work best if they're right next to your, stove, or right next to your water heater, or wherever you're using gas. And what's interesting is that I guess the dog and their ability to sniff things out a little bit better than humans, or maybe a lot better, the dog was able to get her out of that house. She, in turn, was able to, have clean oxygen in her system so she wouldn't be falling asleep due to the carbon monoxide. Therefore, when she returned to the house, she was able to hear the detector going off, and she was able to get everybody else out of that house. So I thought that was really a cool story. A lot of times people will tell you, man, whenever I rescued such and such dogs, they actually rescued me. If you are feeling sad and stuff, one of the best things that you can do is get yourself a pet. One of the most soothing things that I've ever experienced, and I'm sure you guys have too,
is when a cat will purr while sitting in your lap. There's something just really relaxing and beneficial about that purring that has a soothing aspect to your soul, so to speak. I think a lot of similar things happen when you have a lap dog. And so a lot of times you'll see senior citizens and they'll go buy a Chihuahua or a Poodle or a Mini Pin, right? And a lot of times these lap dogs can take a kind of depressed person and completely change them. So if you're one of these folks that maybe you're living alone, or maybe you're living with people but you still feel somewhat alone, maybe contemplate the idea of going outside and getting yourself not going outside, but going to the shelter and maybe picking up a kitten or a puppy today. And if you're a little leery of getting shelter pets, because sometimes shelter pets and pound puppies aren't necessarily the most well-adjusted of animals because of what they've been through, you could always pick up a newspaper and see if you have a local breeder that's selling a dog for a price that's not too crazy. What you don't want to do is you honestly don't want to go to a mall and purchase a dog. Because man, when I went to the mall about a month or so ago, or the last time I went and saw the dogs that were for sale, my goodness, dogs that used to sell for $1,500 to $2,000, which I thought was outrageous, are being sold for $3,000 or $4,000 now. And I don't get it at all, because we were always told that these malls that sell dogs, they run puppy mills. And we used to really think it was crazy how they would sell dogs for $2,000. And all of a sudden, here we are a handful of years later, and they're no longer being sold for $2,000. They're being sold for $3,000 or $4,000. And I have to imagine they're still considered puppy mills. So I don't know how this problem kind of looked like it was going away 10 or 15 years ago, and now it's back with a vengeance. If you guys know how that went down, are these puppies being sold, but they're not considered like a puppy mill? Because I just remember about 15, 20 years ago, they started getting rid of selling dogs in malls. But then, like I said, all of a sudden it seems like it's kind of back with a vengeance. Maybe I'm having a false memory though. I could have swore that we had a little period where they were kind of discouraging people from selling, dogs in the malls. I'm telling you guys, when you buy a dog in a mall, you're automatically getting ripped off. There's no dog on the planet that should cost $4,000 to buy, So I think that's a little crazy. Whatchamacallit, if you go through a breeder in the paper, a lot of times you can get that same type of dog for a third of the price, maybe even less. I have like a top amount that I'll pay for a dog. The most I'm going to pay for any type of animal, probably $300 or $400. I have a friend named Tressa, and she lives alone out in Apache Junction, Arizona. And we took her down to like a shelter area, an adoption center, and we got her a dog. And it was kind of like a Jack Russell mix, so very smart dog. But apparently this dog was the type that whenever she left her house, it would just start eating up the couch and her bed and her, wooden furniture. And it would bark like crazy to the point where the neighbors were like, hey, your dog's barking while you're at work nonstop. And it got so bad that she actually had to return the dog. So is it good when people adopt, dogs from the shelters and they rescue these dogs? Of course it is, but you still want to make sure that you're, a good fit for the dog. Sometimes dogs have been abused. Sometimes they don't like little children. There's different situations that are perfect for certain animals, and sometimes we're just not a perfect fit for them, and vice versa. Me and my wife, when I was married, we went and we rescued a Shar-Pei. Shar-Peis are interesting because if you pet them from front to back, they feel like a regular dog's, fur does. But if you go from back to front, they feel like sandpaper. So I remember I would hold this dog, and before I knew it, I had like a rash on my body because they've got some really rough fur, you know? Anyway, this dog was a bully, and I got this dog as a puppy. And I thought, wow, what are the chances you get a Shar-Pei puppy, you know, from the pound, you know? So we take this dog home, and all of a sudden it grows up, instantly starts bullying our mini pin, which makes sense. I mean, it was bigger than the mini pin as a puppy, right? And I don't know if you guys know this, but Shar-Peis are the puppies where they have a ton of wrinkles. As they get older, they kind of look like a lab of some sort, you know, because those wrinkles kind of grow out. But not really. I mean, they're just kind of tough, mean dogs. Anyway, this dog was very mean. It would bully other dogs, specifically our mini pin, and we would leave it in the backyard, you know, kind of like a watchdog type situation, as we went out and about our business on the weekends and stuff. And one time we came home, and as we're coming in through the front door, the dog met us at the front door. And we're like, holy crap, did he figure out how to open up the back Arcadia door? No, it's even better. He jumped through the back window. Can you imagine that? This crazy ass dog, full grown by this time, and by the way, it didn't take long to get full grown. This thing was huge. He jumped through the back window. And I'll never forget, about a month or two before the window fiasco, he was in my wife and he was in our bed. And my wife goes, "Get off the bed," you know, like that. And the dog growled at her in such a way where I remember she ended up getting off the bed and like going into the other room. It was really creepy. So we knew when that growl happened, because it was one of those growls where you could just tell he was ready to attack. And so what we did was we had a handyman coming over to the house for whatever reason. And I think it might have been the guy fixing the back window, but it's so long ago I don't remember. But anyway, we found a guy. We told him about our dog, that we had gotten him as a puppy, but that he was a little aggressive towards other dogs. And it was so funny because I remember this guy kind of portrayed himself as being a dog whisperer type. And he said, "Hey, I'll take the dog off your hands. I don't like the idea of you guys taking the dog back to the pound," because that was our only thought. You know, we're not going to try to sell this dog. We're going to either give it away to somebody or take it back and just let them know that, God, I hate to sound like a failure, but we don't know what to do with this dog. The window alone was really expensive to fix from what I remember. And so when you have this dog on your hands and you have some gentleman that says, "Hey, I'm willing to take over this dog," we just figured, okay, no problem, here you go. We even gave him a giant sized bag of dog food, right? And all of his shot records and stuff. This guy owned a couple of Great Danes, giant dogs. And when he took over the dog, we just figured, oh my God, what a blessing, right? Guys, the guy brought back the dog 24 hours later, and he was pissed. Like it was our fault that our dog went and started beating up his Great Danes. Oh my God. And he was upset about it. And it's like, you know, technically speaking, we could have refused and said, "No, we don't want your dog." But, you know, my thinking was he tried his best. He had done some work around the house for us, right? So we let him out of the obligation and we took the dog back. And I hate to say it, but we ended up having to take him back to the pound. So I hope you guys don't hate me for that. It happened quite a few years ago, right? But the moral of the story was this dog was going to kill our mini pinscher. And this dog was going to keep doing things like breaking the window and sleeping wherever he wanted to. And he was just really starting to take over the alpha role over me. And I don't know if he was taking it over me. I was the only one in the house that he would listen to. So it got to the point where my wife didn't want anything to do with the dog. So if everyone in your house is afraid of it, and my son would play with the dog and the dog would start biting his fingers playfully, but the dog didn't know to only nibble on the hand. It literally started biting people like it was trying to eat them. It was really, really off-putting. If any of you guys have ever dealt with a kind of alpha dominant type dog, let me know, but it was just really weird. It was almost sad how the handyman came back. He seemed so defeated, and I felt like he thought I was trying to scam him. It's like, look, mister, I told you the dog was giving us hell, told you that we were going to have to take the dog back to the pound. You offered to be the dog whisperer. I mean, this guy told me he would handle it. He knew how to handle aggressive dogs. He knew how to take care of them. If you would have seen the look on his face when he brought the dog back, it was so defeated. Yet he had an attitude like, I didn't let him know how mean the dog was. Sir, the dog broke through our window and he tried eating our mini pincher. I think I gave you the right idea of what type of dog he was. And you want to know something interesting? If I didn't have any kids, because I had my daughter like every Wednesday and every other weekend back then as well, but if I didn't have any kids and a wife, I probably would have thought that dog was the greatest thing. Now, I still would have been pissed if he would have been jumping through windows. And I still can't get over the fact that this dog was in our backyard, and I don't know if he heard somebody knock on the front door, because you know how sometimes people knock on the front door because, they're selling their lawn care service, or they're seeing if the car in the front yard is for sale. I mean, there's reasons people knock on your door. And I think that what the dog did from the backyard is he heard somebody knock on the front door, and instead of just accepting the idea that he can't do anything about it because he's in the back, he jumped through the dang living room window. And it's really creepy when you see the size of a giant window and he's broken through it. Just absolutely bizarre. It's interesting. About 5 or 6 years ago, some sort of tropical bird business let probably a dozen or more parrots or parakeets, some sort of colorful parrot-looking birds. They let them out, and they were all around the neighborhood, literally dozens of them. And it looked really interesting because you had these dirty brown, gray-looking desert birds that we have out here, right? They all look brown, right? And then all of a sudden you had a dozen or so greenish-looking little mini parrot looking type birds, and they were all over. And I remember thinking, my God, they're probably gonna die off because they're used to living in some sort of tropical region in South America, and now here they are stuck in Arizona. But I just saw one of the birds now, so even though it's 5-6 years later, there's no longer dozens of them, but there are legitimately still a handful of like South American tropical parrots or something that fly around the neighborhood. But when I first saw them 5 or 6 years ago, it was interesting because they all kind of stayed together. And so all of a sudden you've got 7, 8, 9, 10 of these birds surrounding various trees, on rooftops. I mean, they stayed together. And again, sometimes you would see as many as a dozen or more. So I have a feeling it was a situation where they were let go. But through time and through the Arizona weather and through predators and stuff, cats and what have you, it's slowly gotten to the point where now when I see them, I might see 1 or 2 here or there, but I definitely don't see the amount I did X amount of years ago. So that kind of brings us to natural selection, right? In the animal kingdom, we have natural selection. Only the strong survive. There's always going to be plenty of desert color birds out here in the desert, but you're slowly going to see those colorful birds die off. And here we are 5 or 6 years later, and I think most of them have died off. I would love to be wrong about that though. And if I ever do see that there's more than just one here or one there, if I ever see a flock of them together again, I'll make sure I show you. You know, it's interesting here in Arizona, we've had ranchers and stuff that have these outdoor cameras. These outdoor cameras are designed to take pictures and videos of wildlife, you know, as they alert the sensor. And in parts of southern Arizona by the Mexico border, we've actually had some ranchers that have caught jaguars on camera. Jaguars or leopards, I forget what species, but it's those real powerful cats from South America. And we actually have them in southern Arizona where they're crossing the border. Now, could you imagine if you were out lost in the desert? You probably don't have to worry about bears. And you're thinking, okay, all I have to do is worry about scorpions and snakes, right? But could you imagine if you were out there alone? You're trying to survive, your phone doesn't work, you're low on water, and then all of a sudden you see a jaguar or a leopard. You know, again, I think it's a jaguar. But either way, deadly cat, and all of a sudden you're sitting there having to, you know, not get eaten by the cat. And these are the cats that in South America, they've been known to jump into water, grab South American crocodiles, and pull them out of the water and take them away and eat them. They've got this bite force where instead of going for your neck or your throat like typical big cats do, they actually clamp on top of your head and try to crush your skull. That's kind of a crazy thing. And where a lot of other cats typically, you know, stay away from water, these cats are known to dive into the lakes and stuff of South America to retrieve, you know, these saltwater crocodiles and stuff. By the way, I found out through the years that apparently gators, you know, if you're in Florida, you might have some alligators in your neighborhood. Apparently gators can look menacing, can be big, can be very much deadly, right? Especially to your pets. But apparently they're a little skittish and a little docile. So when you see an alligator, you know, there's a good chance that it's probably not going to mess with you, from what I understand. If you live by alligators and I'm wrong, let me know. But from what I understand, the crocodile is just way more vicious. If that crocodile sees you lurking by the water's edge, it's going to come and try to get you. Whereas with the alligator, you probably have a fighting chance. So apparently not only are crocodiles and alligators not related, right? Completely different species. But apparently if you're in a dark alley with one of the two species, you'd rather be in that dark alley with the alligator than the crocodile. So, and apparently crocodiles have more of the pointed snout where their teeth can be seen outside of their mouth, even when their mouth is closed. Whereas with alligators, you can kind of see where teeth are, but they're mainly within the structure of the jaw and the face for alligators. God, you learn everything on Walk, Talk, Vent, guys. If you're going to have your fight battle choice, take on a fight battle with an alligator, not a crocodile. God, we learn such important things here. Did you guys ever hear that if something like that is chasing you, if an alligator or crocodile is chasing you, have you ever heard run in a zigzag formation? I wonder if that really helps or if that's just a wives' tale. Who knows? I can tell you one thing. Every animal that's out there in the animal kingdom seems to be incredibly fast, whereas a lot of us humans, not so much. You figure, wouldn't it be interesting if we were just as fast as some of these animals? Could you imagine if we had the ability to run, 20 or 30 miles per hour for an hour straight like a dog or a wolf can? God, wolves have the ability as a pack to chase down animals at speeds up to like 30 miles an hour for up to like 30 or 40 miles in a row. Could you imagine just having some dog sprinting at you for 30 miles in a row? Forget being a human. If you're a human, it's going to catch you in a matter of seconds, right? But even if you're a deer or a caribou or a rabbit or whatever, man, they're just going to chase you until your heart gives out, and then they're going to eat you. That's crazy. They're amazing animals. Even your dog has that ability to run like 25 or 30 miles an hour for like a half hour straight, your dog is probably the best athlete in the country outside of other dogs. And I think that's pretty cool. And it's funny, it doesn't really matter the type of dog you have unless you have, a little corgi or something. It's probably going to be able to outrun you. And who knows, maybe I'm wrong about corgis. Corgis, even though they have short little legs, they might be able to run like crazy for all I know. But I have a feeling we could beat a corgi in a race. I don't know if we could beat very many other dogs. But if you have a dog and if you love running with your dogs, let me know down in the comments. If any of you guys own a Whippet or a Greyhound, which I believe those two dogs are the fastest dogs, if either of you guys own those type of dogs, let me know. I've seen people with Greyhounds at the park, and I've seen those Greyhounds run, and wow, they literally look like the athletes of the dog world. They can run so fast, it is crazy. I remember when I was real young, I think like 3 or 4 years old, I think my mom and her dad, my grandpa, who I was never really close to, a real jerk of a guy, but I think they took us out to the dog tracks way back in the day. I don't even think we have dog racing here in Arizona anymore, and I could be wrong about that. But we used to have this Greyhound racing park, and that's one of my early memories, going to the dog races. And we've also gone to horse races as well, but I thought the dog races were a little bit more fun. My grandpa, by the way, my mother's dad, I was not a fan of my grandpa. For my 18th birthday, I went to Fort McDowell, the casino. And back then you could gamble at age 18. I believe you have to be 21 now. But back then you could gamble at 18, and then when I was 19, they switched it to 21. But us 18-year-olds were already grandfathered in. So that felt kind of cool, When I was 18, 19, 20, I was able to gamble, even though most people had to wait till they were 21. But anyway, for my 18th birthday, my mom took me and my fiance, the mother of my daughter at the time, Angie, and we went up to Fort McDowell. And we didn't know he was going to be there, but we saw my grandpa and his wife. I forget her name. Anyway, he ended up having a stack of $1 coins, and he had about 100 of them, like he had, cashed in a $100 bill and gotten his coins. Literally a single coin fell on the floor. I reached down, grabbed it, and I said, Grandpa, let me put this in a machine. It's my birthday. I think I'm going to win. This dude grabbed that coin out of my hand and basically just took off, said, hey, you guys have a good day. Bye-bye, And from that point on, I just said to myself, this guy's an asshole. If your grandkids are at the casino, and I don't care if you've lost $1,000 over the last 3 minutes, your grandkid's at the casino and it's your grandkid's 18th birthday. And oh, by the way, you know how many times this guy gave me a card or anything as his only grandchild? Never. To this day, I was the guy's only grandchild. He had 2 daughters, one with my grandmother, that's my mom, and then he was one of these guys that had a child after I was born. So I have a aunt, my mom's sister Melissa, who's actually 3 years younger than me. Which again, that kind of sounds Alabama-ish, but that's neither here nor there. The main point of the story is, imagine having a grandpa that was relatively in your life as a child, but you never got 1 card from him, you never got $1 from him, you never had 1 ice cream cone. The guy, I literally went through life with a grandfather that was right there able to see me every day, and he never bought me 1 birthday gift. He never came to any of my birthdays. I don't understand how people are like that. My game plan, and it's a game plan, it's not set in stone, but my game plan is I would like to be present for my granddaughter Dagny's. I'd like to be present for every one of her birthdays, Even if she's on the other side of the country, which she's not, she lives here in Arizona, thank goodness. But I can't imagine somebody living that close to their one and only grandchild and never wanting anything to do with them. That's what kind of blows me away about the world. When I was younger, it was a lot of times a situation where a man and woman would be together, and then the man would break up with the woman, and he would end up, starting his own life, and the woman was left heartbroken and usually with a bunch of kids. That's the world that I kind of grew up in. Now the world, if you fast forward, it's still similar, but I feel like you hear a lot more stories where the woman breaks up with the man and kind of goes her own way without him, And so I feel like the world's changed in that aspect. But either way, that's probably not a great way to end the day. I want to say happy Tuesday. If you have a little time before your job starts, see if you can take an extra little walk around the park. Whenever you can do any type of extra credit, it's a real blessing. But either way, have a beautiful day. We'll see you tomorrow.